Hi guys, I've got a different video for you today. So I noticed in these kinds of magazines that there's actually some like agony aunt kind of questions, which I guess you could say is essentially what I am. And if you are actually new to my channel, just to give you a bit of background, I'm a relationship dating coach as well as someone that coaches people to be self-reliant, and to strengthen their individual character so they can face the world with a little bit more ease. So this obviously is diving into sort of like the relationship side and the dating side and all this kind of stuff. So there's a few dating questions in this particular issue of Take a Break. Now it's kind of how this came to my possession. It's quite an interesting, well, it's not that interesting. Basically, whenever I go to my mum's house, she sometimes gives me some papers to put through another neighbour's door. It's just something, it's still like an errand that I've just done for a while. And basically, when I say put the papers, like my mum and dad buy papers and then basically they just give these papers to their neighbour, and sometimes I deliver them, you know. Just like when we're like leaving, because I don't live, well, I live kind of close to my parents, but not really close to my parents. Like they're not down the street. They are like in a few towns ahead of me. I think they're like about 10 miles away from where I live. So anyway, whenever we visit my parents and we're on our way out of the village that my parents live in, I deliver and drop off these papers to one of their neighbours. And my mum said that we could read this Take a Break book first before we kind of gave that to those neighbours. So that's a bit of boring background, and we don't usually get these magazines, but my fiance really likes them, mostly because she really likes to do like the arrow words and the quizzes in these kinds of books. So this is how I have this book. This is not something that I would typically go out and buy, but I'm thinking that maybe I should because there is an agony aunt section. It's not called an agony aunt. It's called Readers to the Rescue, and basically it seems like these people send in these questions and the readers of this magazine writes in and answers them, or something to that effect. So there's 3 questions on this particular page and I'm going to answer them. So I'm going to get into the first one. This is the one that's probably the most dominant on the page. And it says he visits he visits gay dating sites. So let's read this question and see if we can answer these poor readers' questions. So the question is this. Some time ago, I found out that my husband had been visiting a dating website for gay men. He admitted it, but denied being gay. Now I've caught him at it again. My head is all over the place, and I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. Well, the gay dating website shouldn't be the issue here. The issue here is that your husband is on any form of dating site. So obviously there must be something going on in the relationship for him to feel like he has to go on a dating site. Now it could be just curiosity, but I highly doubt it. I think he probably is looking for a new relationship, because that's the whole point of going on a dating site. Usually, either you're on there because you want to find a new relationship, or you are going there to be a little bit promiscuous, maybe. You know, perhaps you're looking for a hookup. So that's the thing that you need to pay attention to. So clearly there's something going on in your relationship that is making him feel like he should be going on and looking at seeing what else is out there for him. So he's denied being gay, but he might not be gay. There's a chance that he could actually just be bisexual, and perhaps it's the side of him that is perhaps hidden away from you. But there are bisexual people out there, and perhaps he is just, you know, wanting to experiment in that. So perhaps you need to talk about the relationship, and perhaps if this is something that you two should continue on, I think you should ask him if he's happy in the relationship, because clearly it's making you feel really bad, and it's your mental health is suffering for it. And clearly his mental health is in another world as well, because he's clearly wanting out of the relationship in essence. Or at least his foot is out of the door a little bit, at least. So you need to pay attention to that. So I would suggest that you have a talk with him. Probably the hardest talk you're probably going to have with him, and it's going to be about whether or not you should end the relationship, because, well, your marriage, because it says that he's your husband. So yeah, you're going to have to talk about whether or not you want to end the relationship. And I'm thinking that it probably will end in you two ending the relationship, unless you want to have a more open relationship together. So if you're open to having an open relationship and seeing other people, then perhaps you can maintain your relationship. But it looks like that might not be the case. It looks like one of you at least is monogamous, if that's you, and he's not. He's looking out. He's looking for ways to get out of it, or at least looking for something a bit more open, so he can experiment with this side of him that he's hidden from you, or trying to hide from you. That's what I have to say about that, really. So the next one is this one, saying she bosses him around. So let's read this one, see what this one's about. My son is very laid back and lets his wife boss him around. My husband and I don't like it, but he doesn't seem to mind. When she tells him what to do, he just laughs and does it. Should I tell her to give him a break, or do I keep out of their relationship? Now, I have a strong opinion about this, and my strong opinion is yes, you should leave him alone. You shouldn't mess with your son's relationship. And the reason I say this is because he's a grown man, obviously, if he's in a relationship. At least that's what it seems like. He has his own mind. He knows what he wants and what he doesn't want. And if he's making a mistake, which he very could be, if she is being too domineering over him, but it's his mistake to make. He needs to learn these lessons. He shouldn't get mummy and daddy to sort them out for him. Especially when it comes to relationships. I think messing around in your children's romantic relationships when they get to a certain age is a bit odd. If he's making a terrible mistake, it's his to make, and it's one that he's looking. If he laughs at it, perhaps it doesn't bother him. Maybe he likes that. Perhaps he doesn't mind being told what to do, because perhaps he just doesn't know what to do. Especially if, let's say his parents, so you, did everything for him. So he never had to do washing up, he never had to clean his clothes, he never had to tidy his bedroom. So let's say you did all that for him. His girlfriend is going to have to tell him what to do, because he doesn't know how to do it. And perhaps he doesn't have the incentive on how to do it. Perhaps it doesn't come naturally to him when he sees a pile of washing up in the sink to do the washing up. Perhaps he needs to be told a few times before he starts actually doing it himself without the prompt. Okay, especially if he's been living in a home where that's all been done for him. So perhaps she's just telling him what to do because he's not doing it and he needs to start doing it, otherwise it's going to have ramifications on that relationship. So yeah, stay out of it. If it becomes so concerning that you think it's borderline, if it starts affecting his mental health, let's say, then perhaps you can talk to him about it and say, what's going on? Are you happy in your relationship? And perhaps give some guidance or give some advice. But that's the only thing you can do. Don't make any decisions for him or tell him what to do, because it's just going to make him resent you. So don't tell him what to do. Perhaps talk with him about it, express your concerns, but ultimately it's his decision for what he does, okay? He might be happy the way he is, right? And he might be happy in that relationship. And I don't know your living situation, so perhaps he is actually, him and his girlfriend are living with you. But if they're not, then you only see a fraction of their relationship. There's no way you can tell what goes on 100% of the time in their relationship if they live alone together somewhere, like in a flat or a house. So you only see a little bit, you see a tip of the iceberg of what's going on. So stay out of it, really. So the next one is a bit of a smaller one, a bit of a smaller section on the page. And it's called, I've gone off sex. Very common in a relationship. So it says, I'm 45 and I'm going through the menopause. As well as hot flushes and mood swings, I've lost all desire for sex. My husband doesn't understand and is taking it personally. I love him and I hate having to turn him away. I don't know how to keep him happy anymore. So this is a common problem in relationships. Usually at the start of the relationship, both of you have, let's say, high sex drives. And then later on in the relationship, that kind of calms down. And what tends to happen is one is more highly sexed than the other one. So one wants sex more than the other, basically. And this can have huge ramifications on the relationship if you can't communicate properly. So my first advice would be to perhaps come to a compromise with your husband, because perhaps sex is one of the huge things that makes him happy as a man. You need to honor that. You need to honor his feelings and how he feels about that. So perhaps come to a compromise in some way. And by compromise, I mean you'll have sex with him if such and such happens. So perhaps you need a little bit longer to warm up. Perhaps before you just went straight into the sexual act without any kind of like foreplay or anything. So perhaps explain to him more about the things that could help you in your sexual relationship, that can help turn you on. Perhaps that could help you. And then both of you will be happy because you'll be more engaged in the act, and obviously he will, get sex. I would also say that perhaps you maybe need to, because you said it's your menopause, it's very likely that that's all it is just your hormones. But there could be some other factors as well. Have you noticed that perhaps your husband is taking a bit of a back seat? Perhaps you're having to take on more of the masculine roles in the household. Perhaps you're having to deal more with finances, or perhaps you're just having to do more work for some reason. Perhaps there's some ways that the attraction has basically gone out of balance. And what this means is that in order to have a good sexual relationship, there needs to be polarity. So someone needs to be very masculine, and usually the other one is very feminine. So obviously in a heterosexual relationship, that's usually down to the man and the woman. So the man is masculine, does masculine things, and a masculine person, a masculine man is attracted to a feminine woman. And a feminine woman is attracted to a masculine man, a masculine person if you're LGBT. So perhaps your roles have meshed a bit too much, and there's not much more polarity. Perhaps you need to go back out on more dates with each other. Perhaps you need to actually spend more time with each other, because sometimes that can happen. Usually the way you got your partner is how you keep your partner. So you need to keep on doing the things that you did when you were at the beginning of the relationship. So perhaps that'll help bring the spark back. But because you said this is your menopause, and it's very, very likely that this is all it is, then you need to keep your husband happy, especially if physical touch is one of his love languages, and it's one of the things that makes him feel attractive and makes him feel like a man. So I would say compromise in some way. Come up with a negotiation. And I know that doesn't sound too sexy, but there's a way that both of you can win. And the way that you win is by coming up with things that can make both parties happy. So see what you can come up with. Have a proper conversation with your husband about this, because it could potentially end your marriage, especially if sex is something very, very important to your husband. So you obviously want to make him feel happy, make him feel loved, and obviously you want the same as well. So basically come up with a negotiation on how both of you can experience those emotions in your marriage, and that will help. So those were the questions I answered in this Take a Break magazine. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, then let me know, and I'll do another one in the future when I get a new magazine. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was quite fun. So I hope you enjoyed it too. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and would like coaching and mentoring, anything to do with dating and relationships, or strengthening your character, becoming self-reliant, then please get in touch with me by going to www.christineloveridge.com/shop. And I shall talk to you again very soon. Bye guys.